Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Alicia Niel. We do all things beauty here. I am a makeup lover and I am going to show you today how I get my signature makeup look. So stay tuned. Okay, so I always start with brows first. Today we are going to use the Raw Essence Brow Laminating Gel. And I like to just lay my brows down. I don't do my brows until very last, but I do like to have them sculpted. So we'll just take a spoolie and get in there. And then we're gonna just lay the brows down. Now we're moving on to skin prep. Skin prep is so important. I always start by mildly exfoliating my face. These are the Elemis Dynamic Resurfacing Pads. And I just go over my face with these. Moving along with skin prep, we're going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum. I have dry skin, so I really like to go in and nourish my skin before makeup application. So a lot of the products that you see me use are going to be very hydrating, conditioning for the skin. Next, we're going to use the Embryo Elise cream. This is a moisturizer primer hybrid. I've been using this for years. I love this. This will always be in my makeup bag. Danessa Myricks is one of my favorite brands. We're going to go in next with this glow serum. This is in the shade Main Squeeze. She does have a darker shade, and that shade is called Juice Boost, but this was what they had at my Sephora, so I picked it up and I have loved it. When I finish this one, I'll try Juice Boost. It just feels so good on the skin. The texture of it is gorgeous. Okay. And last but not least, we're going to take the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blurring Balm in the shade Universal. Okay, so we're just going to get a little bit of that. Put that on the back of my hand. And we're mainly going to focus this product in the T-zone. We let the skin prep soak in for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to move on to complexion. So for complexion, if you have any darkness, any acne scarring, anything like that, I recommend going in and either spot concealing with a full coverage matte concealer or going in with a color corrector just to cover up some of that darkness. Today we're going to use the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the shade Amande. And we're just tapping that on our problem area. I tend to have a lot of darkness around my mouth, so I conceal around there as well. Next up is foundation application. So I said that we were going to use a skin tint, but I want to use foundation today. So this is the TN Idol Ultra Wear Foundation from Lancome. This is in the shade 450W, and I just picked this up the other day, and I've really been liking it. So we're going to take a little bit on the back of our hand. We're going to take that same brush that we used to apply concealer, and we're going to start applying this to the face in the areas that we need most coverage. So we're just going to paint it on in the center of the face, around here, and then we'll blend it out. A little bit on the forehead and a little bit on the nose. So that is as much foundation as we're going to use. To blend that out, I'm going to take my favorite foundation brush. This is the F4 from Makeup by Mario, and we're going to start in the areas that need more coverage, and we're just tapping it out. Up and down motions and working it around the face, okay? So this brush is going to hold a little bit of product, so it will transfer to the areas that we did not apply foundation. And we're just tapping up and down motions like this. And just blending that out everywhere. And then if you need to blend it down your neck and your chin, you're gonna buff. So this is gonna shear out the product a little bit. You won't have as much coverage, but you won't get that line of demarcation right there. Once you have the coverage that you desire, we are going to move on to concealer. So I like to use two different shades of concealer. I like to use one that is about 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. I call this like the lit from within shade. And then I like to use a shade that's about 4 to 5 shades lighter than your skin tone. So we're gonna start with this shade. This is the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Concealer in the shade 11. And we are going to place this shade wherever the light hits our face. So as you can see, the light is hitting me here in the center of my forehead. It is naturally hitting me under my eyes. And we're going to start at the inner corner and we're going to bring it out to the edge of the eye, okay? And then we're going to fill in everything in between. We're going to do that on the other side. Edge of the eye, down, filling in everything in between, okay? And if I tilt my head backwards, you can see the light hits me right here. And we're gonna balance out the face with going right above the lip. Now there are so many different techniques and ways to place your concealer. However, if you are new or if you are unsure where to place it, try using the lighting technique to place your concealer and it will work with your features, okay? So we're gonna let that concealer sit. We're gonna let it sit, 1, so that it could build coverage, and 2, so that it kind of dries down a little bit so that it stays in place, because placement is key when it comes to makeup, and we don't want it to move, we don't want it to expand, we want it to stay exactly where we placed it. So we're gonna let it dry down and we're gonna move on to bronzing the face. So when it comes to bronzing, I prefer to bronze versus contour. Contour is where you are using dark shades with cool undertones to create shadows and structure on your face. I like to use warm tones to create contrast and depth and warmth, okay? So we're gonna use this bronzer from Jordana Tisha. This is in the shade Coastal Oasis. And we're gonna use the other side of our F4 from our Makeup by Mario brush. Now this bronzer is really pigmented, okay? So I'm just gonna take a little bit and use my hand as a palette and kind of coat my brush with it. Now when it comes to placement, I find the top of my ear and then I come diagonally down towards the center of my face, and I will stop right about the center of my pupil, okay? So we'll go find the top of the ear and we will bring that bronzer down to about the center of the pupil. We won't go further in towards the face. And we're just tapping that in. Everything that we place today, we're just going to tap in. And then we're just going to follow the hairline with the bronzer as well. So if you feel like you have a bigger forehead, you can use the bronzer right here in the center. This will shrink the forehead. If you feel like the size of your forehead is fine, you can just keep it on the outside of the temples. So once we do that, I also like to balance out the face with the bronzer, and I like to come on both sides of that highlight that we did right there. When it comes to my nose, I'm not really picky with my nose because a really defined nose contour does not fit my face. So I'll just stamp the brush along the sides of the nose. Oops, that was a lot. And blend it up into the brow. And we can always go back and clean that up later. But this is kind of just like a guideline. And we'll also use this bronzer as a base for our eye look today. So once you are satisfied with the amount of warmth that you've added to your face, it's time to go ahead and blend out our concealer. Like I said, it had a minute to set. It should be good to go. So I like to start in the places that have the least amount of product, because as you go along, your brush will pick up product and it could spread. So we're going to start on the chin, and we're just going to tap that concealer in. And then we're going to move to our forehead, and we're just tapping that in exactly where we had it. And then we're going to go above the lip. And then we're going to start on our under eyes, okay? So I want you to really pay attention, because the most important part of your under eye concealer is the edges. I know you might think it's the creases under here, but the most important part of your under eyes is the edges of the concealer, right? Like I was talking about contrast earlier, you have your bronzer here and you have your bronzer here. So if that is not blended correctly, your under eye is not going to look good, because you have two very contrasting shades next to each other. Our goal is to get those to blend seamlessly. So we are going to start blending our concealer on the edge. And we want to make sure that that blend is beautiful before we move along. And you will see, once I blend the edges, the outside and up against the nose, you really won't even be able to tell that the under eye hasn't been touched. And like I said, we're just tapping back and forth on that line. And then we're going to move to the other side. We're working on both eyes at the same time. And if you like to lift the face, this is where you can start creating that cut going up towards your temple with your concealer, okay? And then we're going to work on the side of the nose right here. And everything is just tapping. And don't forget right here as well. Okay. We're going to tap out the nose just a little bit. Now, as you can see, everything kind of looks in place, and all we have to do is go and just tap under the eyes a couple times just to smooth out that area, just like that. I really want you to work on not blending away your concealer, okay, under your eyes, because I know a lot of people like to go back in and feel like they need to add more, but a lot of the times when you're really pressing under here and you're taking a long time to blend out the concealer, you're actually removing the product from under your eye, and that's why you feel like you might need more product, okay? So we're going to leave that as that, and then we're going to work on the blend, okay? So this is important as well. So as you can see the line of demarcation between my concealer and my bronzer, right? So my concealer is a light shade and my bronzer is a deep shade. So which shade is in between my concealer and my bronzer? My foundation, right? So we're going to take our foundation brush. We're not going to add any product to it, but we are going to tap along the lines of that bronzer and that concealer to blend, because this is the shade that meets in the middle, okay? And this is how you get that seamless blend. These are the little tweaks that are going to take your makeup to the next level. And all you are doing is tapping, okay? I like to work with a fixed amount of product. I know it might seem like I use a lot of product, but once I apply a product, I am not going in and adding more to my face. I'm just using my tools to help me blend everything out. And that is how I get my makeup not to look cakey. Okay, so next we're gonna move on to blush. I like to sandwich my blush in between my concealers. So for blush today, we are gonna use a Danessa Myricks blush. This is a cream blush, and this is in the shade Spiced Latte. I have multiple F4 brushes, so we're gonna take another F4 brush, and we're gonna take the small side, and we're just gonna get a little bit of that Spiced Latte on there. And we're going to use our hand as a palette. This is a very warm, beautiful shade of blush. And I like to really come on the outer corner of the eye and up towards the temple. For me, this helps lift my face. And also, if you need a little bit more color correcting, depending on the shade of blush you use, this is going to help you out. And we're just stamping that right there. And we are bringing it up under the eye just a little bit. We're going to go to the other side, get some more off of your hand or your palette, whatever you prefer to work from. And we're just going to stamp that right there. So we have our blush applied, and we do want to clean it up before we move along. But which shade are we going to clean it up with? We're going to clean it up with our bronzer because the blush is sitting next to the bronzer. So we're just going to take the brush. We haven't added any more product to it. And we're just going to clean up the edges a little bit. We're going to sharpen up that point right there. And we're just cleaning it up a little bit before we move along. So next we are going to go in with our lighter shaded concealer. This is the Danessa Myricks concealer in the shade 9. And we're going to keep this close to the inner eye. Okay, and we're going to keep this close to the inner corner. So we're going to start in the inner corner and we're going to bring it only halfway out, okay? We're going to go to the other side, do the same, start in the inner corner, bring it only halfway out. And then I do like a little more brightness on the nose. We're not going to let this one sit. We're going to go in immediately and start blending it out, okay? So this side has more concealer, so we'll start with this side. And we're really just tapping everything in. And we are still going to work back and forth on this. Okay. So before we move along to powder, we are going to clean this up just a little bit. We're going to take our blush brush and clean that up right there just a little bit. Haven't added any more product. And we're going to take our bronzer. Haven't added any more product. This is the brush we use for bronzer. We're just going to reinforce that nose contour just a little bit, just to get that blend a little better. So now that we have our creams exactly where we want them, everything is blended, we're going to go and we're going to place the corresponding powder with the cream placement, okay? So first we're going to start with under eyes. Today I'm going to use the translucent from One Size Beauty. This is a setting powder to set the under eyes. So we're going to get a little bit on the puff, and then we're going to smooth it out on our hand or whatever you can use to smooth it out, tap it out. And then we're going to make sure that our concealer hasn't creased. If it has, be gentle and tap it out. And we're going to go in with a light pressure. Please do not really press, okay? And set the under eye. Very gentle. Be very delicate, okay? Because we want that powder to sit on top of the concealer. We don't want to mix the two. We just want to sit it on top and make sure that it's set and it's not going anywhere. And we're just going to tap that into the skin until we feel like it's all blended. And be sure to take your time with it. We are setting Be sure to take your time, and we are setting the blush as well. And as you can see, I'm just really working it in. I am going to bake just a little bit under the eyes. So baking is when you leave an excess amount of powder under the eyes to add a little more coverage and increase the longevity of your makeup. So that is what we're going to do. Just a little bit. This powder puff is not really precise, but that's okay. And don't worry, we're about to add some warmth back into the face, okay? So we did just set the rest of the face with just a thin layer of that translucent powder. And now we're going to go in with a powder brush. This is the F2 from Makeup by Mario. And we're going to use our Sephora Micro Smooth powder. And this is going to set the foundation. So we're just going to tap that in there. This is in the shade 56 Mahogany. And then we're just going to tap that on the face. And we're just setting our face. For bronzer, we are going to use our Pat McGrath bronzer in the shade Bronze Divinity. And we're going to use the clean side of our other F4 by Mario brush. This is the big side of the brush. We're just going to tap in there. And we are going to find our contour placement or bronzer placement. And we're just going to tap that shade right there, just to add some warmth, some dimension, some contrast back to the face, because our face is kind of flat that we set everything, especially with that translucent powder. And now we just want to bring the warmth back out. For blush today, we're going to use Pomelo Peach from House Labs. Take the other side of the F2 brush from Makeup by Mario and just tap that in there. And we're just tapping that right under the eye where we had that blush at. So as you can see, our bake has kind of worked itself into the face as we've applied our other products. To finish off the under eye, we're going to go in with this Pat McGrath yellow powder in this V111 brush from Morphe. And we're just going to tap in there, get some of that. And we're just going to press the rest of that powder in under the eye. We're not sweeping it away, we're just pressing it in. And we're blending it over our blush just so everything kind of looks like it's one. Next, we are going to just quickly fill in the brows. This is the Morphe Micro Brow Pencil in the shade Java. And this is quite a dark shade, so I'm going to use a light hand. For some finishing touches, I'm going to go in and add a little more blush. This is Fire Moon from House Labs, just to warm up the complexion even more. And since this foundation is matte, I do want a little bit of healthy glow to the face. So we're going to take this Pat McGrath Labs balm stick, and we're going to use the translucent side. It looks like this. We're going to put some on the back of our hand like this. We're going to grab a sponge, a beauty blender, tap that in there, and we're just going to tap that to the areas where we want a little bit of glow on the face. Our complexion is matte, but we do kind of want to liven up the complexion just a little bit, just to give us a little bit of healthy glow, just so that we don't look like we're completely matte. And this is how you can be glowy without looking shiny or oily. Okay, for today's lip liner, we're going to use Pillow Talk Deep from Charlotte Tilbury. We're going to use our lips to blend. And then we're going to use Softy Lip Velvet from Anastasia Beverly Hills. We're going to blot. Using our lips to blend that together. And then for a gloss, we're going to go on top with the Lawless Forget the Filler in the shade Nudie. So there we have it. That is my signature makeup look. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. And if you recreate it, please tag me so that I can see it. Like I said, the products change from time to time, but the techniques and the steps always stay the same. Like always, I love you so much. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.